Many individuals who track missing persons cases are familiar with Maura Murray. Her case is one of the most covered cases of the internet era. Tim Polari and Lance Rienstierna of the Missing Maura Murray podcast have done 159 episodes just on her case. The popularity of the case is driven by Maura's mysterious actions in the days leading to her vanishing, along with the minuscule window of time where there were no eyes on her when she disappeared. Maggie Freling created and presented a 6-part miniseries on Maura Murray's disappearance titled The Disappearance of Maura Murray, which aired on the Oxygen channel in 2017. I've watched this series at least a dozen times since its releasing and recently viewed it again. During this latest viewing, I noticed something new: the profound tragedy of Maura Murray's disappearance. In this episode, we will be discussing the disappearance of Maura Murray. What happened to Maura Murray? Disclaimer: we are not healthcare or law enforcement professionals. Comments in this episode are based on our own research from the internet and other sources. We work hard for accuracy, but sometimes still make mistakes. You are free to disagree with our conclusions. Please comment. Maura Murray was born on May 4th, 1982, to Fred and Lori Murray. Her parents separated when she was 6 years old. She had 4 siblings: Fred Jr., Kathleen, Julie, and Curtis. She was the youngest daughter. Maura was frequently described as an overachiever from a young age. She excelled as an honor student and was a talented track and cross-country athlete. At Whitman-Hanson Regional High, she broke many of her older sister Julie's records, including the 2-mile run. She would follow Julie to West Point after graduation from Whitman-Hanson. Uncharacteristically, Maura was caught stealing lipstick from a store in Fort Knox. She was allowed to leave West Point without being prosecuted. She enrolled in the nursing program at the University of Massachusetts, also known as UMass. While at UMass in November 2003, she was caught using a stolen credit card number by a police sting operation. The judge would drop charges if she kept her record clean for 3 months. Just before her disappearance, Maura had a conversation with her older sister, Kathleen. Kathleen had completed an alcohol rehab program. On the way home, Kathleen's fiancé took her to a liquor store, which caused her to start drinking again. This upset Maura so much that she had to leave work. Her boss escorted her back to her dorm room. On February 7th, 2004, Maura's father, Fred, arrived in Amherst with a newly purchased Toyota Corolla. He was looking to get Maura a new vehicle since her 1996 Saturn had a bad cylinder and would sputter and smoke. They didn't find a car that day. Later that night, Maura borrowed Fred's new Corolla to attend a party. Unfortunately, she got into an accident in Hadley, Massachusetts, and wrecked the Corolla, causing $10,000 in damage. Maura, who never wanted to let Fred down, was in tears when she told him about the accident. On February 9th, Maura wrote to her professor at the University of Massachusetts that there was a death in the family and that she needed to take some time off. This was a lie. Instead, she called the owner of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, supposedly looking for a place to get away for a while, but she didn't reserve a room. She withdrew the entire amount in her savings account, $280. After stopping at the liquor store and picking up accident forms at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, she drove towards New Hampshire. Around 7:27 p.m. on February 9, 2004, she spun her green 1996 Saturn on a sharp corner on Highway 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. The car ended up facing the opposite direction she was traveling. The accident was called into the Haverhill Police Department by Faith Westman. Maura talked briefly with a school bus driver named Bruce Atwood, and he noted that Maura was slurring her speech, but appeared not to be seriously injured. In a 7-minute window, there were no eyes on Maura from the houses along Highway 112. When Cecil Smith of the Haverhill Police arrived, Maura was not with her car. After numerous searches with dogs and helicopters, no sign of Maura has ever been found. She was never seen again. To understand this tragedy, we need to understand some things about Maura's personality. This is our assessment. She was often described as an overachiever, but her high school friends also saw her as a free spirit who would break the rules to experience life. She was known for her adventurous spirit, often jumping on the rail to head into Boston for a new adventure. Some have blamed Maura's father, Fred, for driving Maura too hard when she was young, which led to her difficulties later in life. I do not believe this is the case.
This is Bob Seifert, producer of But Not Forgotten. Here are my comments about Maura Murray. I feel connected to Maura in some ways. As an overachiever, I was the one who generated the pressure that drove me early in my life. That pressure came from inside. I left high school as the valedictorian of my graduating class, and then graduated in the top 5% of my engineering class. As an 11-year-old, I was at summer camp with Daryl Lance, who was one of the narrators of the episodes on this channel. That summer, I was trying to get my sharpshooter badge at the rifle range, and I wasn't shooting well enough to reach that goal. I was in tears at the time while I told Daryl my parents wouldn't be proud of me if I didn't get that badge. My parents never put that expectation on me. They didn't even know I was trying to get my sharpshooter until I got home from camp. As an adult, I would face job layoffs, sudden ends to contract jobs, and the heartache of being let go for lack of performance. Facing failure can cause an existential crisis. At those times, you find yourself evaluating who you are and what you stand for. If I had faced these things at Maura's age, I am not sure what would have happened. Thankfully, this took place later in my lifetime, and I had family support and access to therapy, and have been able to overcome my need for perfection.
If you look at Maura Murray's life, you can see the fingerprints of an overachiever. She was an honor student who was breaking records in her career as a track athlete. She would punch her ticket to West Point, where her sister Julie was already attending. Only 10% of applicants are admitted to West Point, and you need to be at the top of your class even to apply. Senator Ted Kennedy wrote her a recommendation letter to West Point. She was also recruited by Harvard. On the other side, you see that she stole lipstick from a store at Fort Knox and used a stolen credit card at UMass. How can these two things that seem opposite of each other be the actions of the same person? Let's dig deeper. I am making some assumptions here based on my own experience, but in Maura's mind, she thought she was loved for her accomplishments, and the actions that seem out of character were a call for help from a person who was having difficulty with the internal pressures of always having to prove herself and being perfect. Simultaneously, her life was spiraling. Julie Murray, Maura's older sister, has said they never wanted to let their father down. Maura crashed her dad's new car a few days before. This must have caused Maura cognitive dissonance as she let her father down. This was the last straw for Maura. She needed to get away and take a break from it all. With athletes like Gabby Douglas and Michael Phelps promoting the importance of mental health, it is okay to not be okay. In 2004, this wasn't the case, and Maura needed emotional support that just wasn't available. We still don't know what happened to Maura. Did she hide in the woods in order to escape a DUI and succumb to the elements? Was she the victim of foul play after getting into a vehicle? Or did she run off down the road and enter the woods and collapse due to an injury she sustained in the crash? As of this episode, we don't know what happened to Maura. We do know she would never learn to love herself, not for what she accomplished, but just because. This is the true tragedy of the disappearance of Maura Murray. After all of the intrigue, theories, and conjecture, we are left with a young woman alone on a dark forest road during a cold February night, in desperate need of help, but she never received any, and that is terrifying enough. Maura Murray is gone, but not forgotten. Help us get more coverage for missing people. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and see you soon.